Why does everyone recommend Obsidian? Like, seriously, why? It's recommended for basically anything to do with writing, note-taking, journaling, planning, knowledge management, and, of course, creative writing. But what is it offering you that's so different than the hundreds of other apps, some of them specifically designed to do the thing? Well, the answer is that most of those apps don't let you truly own your own work. The thing is, the modern software space is not a good place for people who want to make things. And when using Obsidian, the benefit comes from what it leaves out. Things that are advantages for other apps, Obsidian intentionally disregards, instead functioning through a philosophy that's the complete opposite of most of those products. This is a philosophy that your own writing, your own thoughts, ideas, notes, whatever, they're yours, not anyone else's. A philosophy that, at the end of the day, it's just a scaffold to show you some text. This philosophy is open formats, and Obsidian uses them really well. In the past, storytellers have relied on many tools to keep track of their huge projects. This usually came in the form of things like notebooks, maps, cards, glossaries, and various binders and folders. Basically anything that you can write on, they used it. Today, most people who are world building or writing or whatever use a digital mean. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's more convenient, it's faster, and it's more resilient. Usually, this is done through something called a wiki management software, which have been around for as long as the modern internet, basically. The best example of this doesn't actually come from fiction, it's Wikipedia, the encyclopedia for the real world. Fans use various different wiki solutions similar to Wikipedia to create fictional wikis for their worlds, which are usually hosted online. Writers often do the same, and it may or may not be open to the public. So you might think to use something like MediaWiki, the open source engine that Wikipedia uses to run, and use it for your own project. Alongside with something called DokuWiki, these are the two big players in the local wiki space. Both MediaWiki and DokuWiki are a little bit complicated to set up because they're focused towards primarily larger teams. They require you to do things like host your own server, and for some people that's fine, but for most it's kind of tedious and not really worth the trouble. They also store data differently. For example, MediaWiki uses a database as a structure, while DokuWiki uses a hierarchical format. And this is important because it affects the way that you organize and interact with your work. You need to know how your work is organized. But I'm going to talk more specifically about that in a future video. So these two are unfortunately not the ideal, especially for small scale or solo work. But that's okay, because there's a bunch of other wiki management softwares out there, but I still would avoid most of them. Remember the methods that the authors used in the past? They all had one thing in common. They used plain text, words that were written physically on paper. And I think that we've lost true plain text. It's just not something that we use anymore. It might look like we are, but we're not. This is not plain text. This is. Can you tell the difference? That's the problem. The difference is that this text is universal. Most computers can open this up and read it fine. But most importantly, you can read it fine. Try reading what this actually says. This is a docx file. It's the file format that Microsoft Word uses. It looked like this a moment ago, but now it looks like this. Can't read it? Why not? All the information's there. Well, it's because you're not a computer, and furthermore, you're not a computer with a working license of the latest supported Microsoft Word installed on it. The only reason why you can read this is because Microsoft allows you to. Otherwise, it would just look like this. This is what the file actually says. That's all that your computer can read. So the only way that you can read your own work is if a third party allows you to. The key to read your own work is in someone else's hands. And that's the fundamental issue of using anything that's not plain text. you have to have a certain application to open them into a human-readable format. And in some cases, you do not control if that application will be supported or function at all on your computer. And that doesn't need to be out of malice. Sometimes companies go under, and the software that they made is no longer maintained on the latest version of whatever you're using. Other times, it's hard to see if there's anything there but malice. In those moments, it's clear that there's something or someone out there that's trying to take your agency for your own work. During the past few years, people have taken notice of this. Ever since the mass migration to the cloud, there's been a small but potent resistance to this, with people using things like self-hosting and home labs to serve their own data. I know I'm making plaintext sound more universal than it actually is. It's not a perfect analog to written text, and it definitely has its problems. But it's the best alternative that we have. This brings us back to Obsidian. The fact that it uses Markdown, which is just plain text with funny little symbols denoting formatting, it's critical. This is another open standard that many popular services and platforms support. It's just a stylization that needs to be done in the editor afterwards. But why Obsidian specifically? There's a bunch of other apps out there that are fundamentally the same thing as Obsidian, and some of them are actually open source. Isn't that better? Well, I mean, maybe. Some of them are really good. I actually use some of them very often. But that doesn't mean that everything needs to be open source. Sometimes it's better if it isn't, and there are valid reasons to have your core software closed. Obsidian is still free, and because of its plugin platform, open source plugins can be added to increase functionality. And if you want to do something like host your notes on the internet for everyone to see, you can do so. Obsidian offers a service to do it, but if you don't want to pay, you can do it yourself, because at the end of the day, they're just markdown files. You're the one who owns them. They're on your computer. You can even use a separate software to open and view those same notes. You don't really need to use Obsidian, like, at all. I mean, I don't use it exclusively. Also, the really cool thing is that the Obsidian team have actually contributed to the open format space. They have a mind map solution that came out a while back called Canvas, which is just a JSON file, basically. And this is a plain text file, and it's licensed for open use. And other apps have actually begun to support it. These apps have nothing to do with Obsidian. They just like the standard that the Obsidian team made. This is a huge deal because they've essentially just made plain text, but for mind maps. And it looks like they're doing a similar thing for database structuring. This is also really cool because it makes Obsidian function like MediaWiki, but without all the headaches of having a database. And also, in the same way that Obsidian is open about formats, it's open about the structure of the app, which is to say that it doesn't have a structure. I mean, you can just do whatever you want. It's just going to show you folders like how they show up on your computer. If you want to follow a certain methodology like a second brain or Zettelkasten or an outlining system, you can do it and it works. Personally, I don't really use any of those. I just make up things as I go along. So all of this allows you to have complete freedom in the way that you take notes. You can change the metadata of files, you making them function however you want them to, and you can use them wherever you want. This is effectively the beauty of Obsidian. It allows you to have an extensive, comprehensive environment to work in, and it guarantees that no matter what you do, those files and that work that you write in Obsidian will always be yours. And the Obsidian team's contributions to the open format space show that they truly care about its importance. I really, truly, truly hope this remains true, but who knows? Priorities change, goals change, teams change, people change. You don't have any real guarantee that Obsidian will be the way that it is right now forever. But the thing is, Obsidian could disappear off the face of the planet tomorrow, and it wouldn't be the end of my planet. Well, moon, but you get the point.